Giorgio Taverniti, you are a longtime friend of mine, my friend. We met, I don't know, years ago. I want to say almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, it's a different conversation from what we usually have. We usually talk pizzas and we usually talk coffee and social media, of course, huge on social media. Times today dictate a different type of conversation. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Fact Up podcast.
My pleasure, Jim.
Owner and operator of Frank's Pizza House, easily one of the best pizza restaurants in the city of Toronto. You're voted every year as having the best pizza, calzone, panzerotti in town. A little bit about the restaurant and what makes it so delicious and award-winning every year.
It's persistence, but we try our best. It's a small run shop, family run. I got a couple employees, but most of us, it's a family run shop. And you show up every day, you put your heart into it, and you pump out a good product.
Yeah.
Right. It's all about, show up every day.
It's those mom and pop family business shops with one or two, five employees max that and correct me if I'm wrong, you're the restaurateur. You think it's going to be those restaurants that adapt better, cope better, and in turn maybe survive, or is it kind of the bigger chains that have more employees, or is there somewhere in between where you're because you're doing everything alone, right,
Yeah.
or maybe with one or two people, less expenses, but better equipped to survive this.
You can adapt much faster. You don't have to go through the chain of command. You make a decision now, you implement it now. You don't have to wait for the big guy to, give you the okay. So I think the small guys will come out on top. Uh, their overheads aren't huge like the big guys,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're going to work the long hours.
Right.
As always, nothing's changed for me. I've always worked 12, 14 hours a day. So doing it now is no different.
Right. So that said, Giorgio, we'll get to the government part, we'll get to the loans part, we'll get to the subsidies part, we'll get to how you cope and adapt, but how has this global pandemic kind of affected you on a personal level, and how has it affected you on a professional level?
Yeah, on a personal level, stress out through the roof. We're in the process of moving homes uh, with
Jeez.
6 kids. I did everything as the government was shutting everybody down. Got a truck. I wanted to be in our new home before we got locked down because we were living above the restaurant before because we were renovating our home.
Right.
And I wanted to get my kids away from all the people coming in and out as much as possible. So we moved them into the house. So we're in the house now. That's why you hear probably an echo. It's half empty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
But business wise, I'm still there. I'm working. We're working a little bit longer to make up the difference. So like today's Monday, I might go in tonight and open up tonight. And the other days on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, where I was opening at 4 previously, now I'm opening at lunch.
Right.
So I'm trying to make up the extra sales of loss because there's no walk-in traffic right now. So
Right.
you see a difference. But like again, I've been in self quarantine all my life.
Right.
I told my friend the other day, I'm in here every day, all day. I don't leave. So I get in at 10 and I leave at 2 in the morning. This is normal.
Right.
This is
Right.
normal for me.
You've been
Right.
following the rules before most of us even got news to follow the rules.
Definitely.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a tricky thing because there's a lot of Domino's trucks and cars that kind of drive by, and people are ordering from the big guys and the quote unquote the dependable guys. How have you been able to gather some of that interest from consumers to because you're a smaller business, you're not Domino's obviously, and you're not these big players like the Pizza Huts of the world.
Yeah.
How obviously the community has really responded positively to you and Frank's Pizza House.
Oh, definitely. We're very fortunate to be in a community-based business. So we're surrounded by a bunch of residents, and they've been really, really, really good to us. But I think my number one factor is I've always had a social media and internet presence, and that's what kept us alive. Because I think if I didn't have a presence on social media, through Facebook, Instagram, I would probably uh, not be where I am today, able to operate.
Right.
Like a lot of guys didn't open because it wasn't worth it for them. And I did some research on a couple of guys I talked to, and it's because A, they didn't have a very responsive website,
Mm-hmm.
and B, no Facebook, no Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
And we've had numerous conversations about that at your bar about how important social media is. But I mean, you have to. I mean, how many times have I been told by restaurateurs you have to be crazy to open up a restaurant,
yeah.
right? But you've been around on St. Clair West and Little Italy for many years. You're embedded into the community. Do you think it's just social media, really? Because your product is amazing, and the community itself. I mean, an amazing community in Toronto.
Yeah.
How much of that do you count for your product and yourself?
I don't know. I never want to give myself credit.
Right, right, like a humble man.
Uh, but I think just people have seen me around. Like I walk down the street and people are like, "Hey, Frankie, what's up?"
Right,
Right?
right,
And I'm there all the time, so they can count on me. So
right.
so up until a week ago, I had my own drivers still working for me. And unfortunately, I got a call on last Monday saying they weren't comfortable anymore doing deliveries.
Right.
Uh, so that was kind of a hit. But I've always been on Uber and Skip the Dishes, third-party platforms.
Hmm.
So now I'm strictly on third-party platforms, and I'm offering my pickup deliveries, uh, my pickup orders. Most people feel comfortable with Uber and Skip the Dishes. We're getting a lot of orders through those apps.
Hmm.
We are losing a bit of the 30% commission,
Hmm.
but I'd rather get something than nothing at this point.
Right. That's how much they're charging you, 30%.
30%. They said they're going to be a little bit lenient because of the pandemic going on. We'll wait and see. But
Mhm.
at this point, we can't be choosers, right?
Right. Is it I know it's on the record and off the record, but is there, based on your experience and your knowledge, is there a similar kind of complaint about those companies perhaps gouging, or is there kind of a consensus of it's a necessary thing that we have to do and they're being as fair as possible?
Their fees were always there.
Right.
They didn't increase their fees now, so I can't say anything negative in that aspect.
Okay.
Uh, I think I've heard talk where the government wants to go in and try to negotiate the fees to drop a bit, but these guys have big bills to pay, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, you're giving them 30%. They are giving you business that you've never had before. There is someone coming to your door, picking up the food and delivering it. There's a service they're providing for you at the end of the
Sure.
day.
We've talked about this repeatedly, and I wanted to ask you, because you've obviously been in the industry for a long time. What can people do that they haven't done already to support the small business, the true backbone of the economy? The I wouldn't say the often overlooked, but the often overlooked, if I could say, right? What can people do? The general Joe Blow, GI Jane, can
Yeah,
go out there and do to support small business.
yeah. Just go to your local, buy even a coffee or a soft drink, buy something. We've had people come in, believe it or not, even through Skip the Dish and Uber, they have a button where they can make a donation to the restaurant, like for
Oh,
$5.
amazing.
So yeah, so what we've done with the donations we've collected, I've put them aside, and we're giving away free food to people.
Oh, wow.
Right. So we have a little fun going, and we've got quite a few phone calls and people coming to the door where they're down to the last $10, and can they get a pizza and I'm like, just take the pizza. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what people have been doing. They've been coming in, giving us, some extra money, and we're just putting it aside.
For need
Yeah.
for several rainy days that are here and coming up.
Yeah. I honestly, Jim, I think it's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better because people are really down to their last dollar. I see.
Yeah.
Right.
And the benefits are supposed to kick in over the next maybe week to 10 days, depending on when people apply.
Yeah.
It goes on kind of the government question that I have for small business. It's just like a small business kind of game plan. A lot of restaurateurs are telling me, look, we don't want more loans.
Yeah.
We want grants. So
Yes.
to ask you your opinion, was it enough? Is it fair? What's missing from that whole game plan?
I feel I'm getting punished because I'm still opening. I can't take advantage of any of the benefits because my business hasn't gone down 30%, right?
Hmm.
Uh, do I qualify for EI? No, because I'm still working. I have my employees still working. Yeah, I kept everybody on payroll.
Hmm.
So do I benefit? No. I'm looking into the 40,000 business loan.
Hmm.
Well, it finds out that I'm with a credit union. I can't even apply because I'm not with one of the six major banks.
Okay, that's
So
another hurdle.
that's another hurdle. So now I've made a few phone calls today, and okay, I'm not with you guys. You guys are a major bank. I've been in business for 20 years. Can we do something? I'm waiting for a call back.
Hmm. You're in
Right?
that long queue.
Yeah. Right. So I called my credit union this morning, a big bank. He goes, sorry, we're not a major bank. We can't offer you that program. I'm like, shit.
Hmm.
Yeah. A hurdle.
So, and I don't want to put, words into your mouth, but I guess it's fair, but maybe not for everybody. It's enough, but maybe not for everybody. And what's
Yeah.
missing is plenty for people who are outside of the circle.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just your experience with other restaurateurs, with colleagues, what's the gauge? What's the impression out there with respect to the game plan that the government has put into place?
They also don't feel it's enough. They feel like they've been let down because it's not fast enough. Yeah, we can get our HST deferred come June. Well, how about if things don't go back to normal?
Right,
Where are you going to come up with the money? You still got to pay,
right.
right?
It's interest free until January, as I understand it, or for the next year. But in the
Yeah,
meantime, you have rent, you have utilities, you have staff, you have food, you have
yeah,
you have everything that makes a restaurant run.
yeah. You still
Um,
got your insurance, the car payments. If you're leasing a car for the business, which most guys are, uh, the list goes on and on and on. Uh, a lot of guys I've talked to have just closed the doors and just hoping for the best. Unfortunately, I can't take that chance and lock the doors. I got to stay there and I got to operate. But a lot of guys are just, you know what, I can't do it. I just close the doors and just hope something prevails better in a week or 2 weeks. And I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't see it getting better in a week or 2 weeks or a month. To be
mhm.
honest with you,
There was a stat last week that the Restaurants Canada, I think, released. It was 800,000
yeah,
restaurant employees, just general service employees, gone. 300,000 of which in Ontario. 1 in 10 restaurants have already closed permanently.
yeah,
Another 20% within a month if things don't change. You mentioned, I personally, I agree with you. I don't see this changing within a month. Um, you know, it, I guess my question is, some people have temporarily laid off. You have not, right? Um, what does the restaurant industry look like in 6 months? Let's be realistic. January 2021, when maybe things start to get back to normal for
okay.
many people. What does that restaurant experience look like now for people who want to dine in?
I don't think honestly, I don't think there'll be any dine in.
Hmm.
I don't see the dine-in part. I don't think us see us going to a bar, sitting down and having a couple of drinks, sitting next to each other. I just don't see that. Uh, maybe in the spring of next year, but in January, I don't see them having 100 people in a small space sitting down, having beers, watching a hockey game on TV. I don't visualize that.
When I guess when everything has become a little bit more convenient for the general public and affordable
Yeah,
to be able to order whatever you want. And now it's been kind of hitting home a little bit more that these are accessible, affordable, convenient services. I've heard from some people, and I'll put this idea by you. It's not a way of me telling you how to maybe reorganize your restaurant and your business, but do you
yeah.
see also like maybe the trend of having 50% of your restaurant as a dine-in and the other 50% as like a takeout? Do you see tables being removed where capacity is at 50, now it's at 25.
Definitely. I actually was looking at my dining room, and I was thinking maybe if I eliminated some tables, right? You're gonna have maybe give people more space in between tables. You
Hmm.
can't jam the tables into anymore, uh, and you have that maybe 6 foot rule where you can,
Right.
even in the dining room maybe. And the social distancing thing, I think this is here to stay. I think standing in line at a store and having that person in front of you 6 feet is going to be a normal thing for us.
Is there plexiglass going in between each table?
Yeah, I know. At that point, do you want to go out? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what does a typical day look like for you now, Giorgio? What is you mentioned Mondays, it's a little bit easier. You're going in
Yeah.
probably later. Tuesdays, I
Yeah.
mean, the rest of the week is busy.
Yeah.
What do you foresee now for yourself as a typical day going forward for the next month, 2 month, 3 month?
Yeah. So I get in there. I'll get a couple orders maybe at lunch, and then nobody walking around, and then you get from 4 to 9. You get a little rush, and then it's a ghost town, Toronto.
Hmm.
Complete. Everybody goes to bed. There's nobody on the streets.
Hmm.
I think you can count 3 parked cars on St. Clair from Dufferin to Lansdowne.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So you get those spurts, and then on Fridays and Saturdays you get it. But again, you have that small window, and you can only make so much fresh food,
Right.
right? So that's another downside.
On a typical day these days, how many pizzas are you making?
This weekend wasn't so bad. I never count my pizzas. Uh, Maybe we did over 100 probably on Friday,
Hmm.
right? Not compared to a normal Friday because I would have the dining room as well, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
and this is just a lot more work. Uh, you got to go to the door to give over the food, come back with a machine for the process of the payment. Uh, it's a different game. It's a different game.
What have you been holding inside of yourself that you'd like to express? I always like to kind of try to give, because there's a lot of, I can't imagine the stress that you're going through, um, as a family man on one
Yeah,
end, okay, and as a business owner on the other, a restaurant owner who's a 1-2 person show. And you
yeah,
obviously have your supporting cast. I've been to your restaurant several times. Your daughters are in there. Your wife's in there. It's a
yeah,
supporting cast. But what is it? What is it about? What's inside that you want to get out as like a free for all, as to like, be it at the government, be it at the restaurant industry, be it at asking people to support small, whatever you're feeling. I'll give you
yeah,
that platform, man.
yeah. I want everybody to if we all do our part, listen to what the officials say, stay inside if we have to, go out and just get your necessary stuff, and help out. There's a lot of people that need help, Jim. A lot of people that need help, and I think if we help each other out, stay inside, and the government does their part and gets money out to people fast enough, we can get through this. Even with social distancing, even with not going out, being able to go to a restaurant, to a bar, uh, we can get through this. You know, uh, it's tough. It's tough. I see people coming to the door with, no expression on their face to pick up a pizza, and they want to tell you what they've been going through, right? Uh, so if we stick together, I think we'll get through this.
Yeah, that's great advice, Giorgio. Your information's back here: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Toronto Pizzeria, Toronto Pizza House, the pastas, the panzerotti, the calzone, the pizzas, amazing. You want to support a small business in the city of Toronto, and you feel like having an amazing calzone or a pizza tonight, call up Frank. Call up Frankie. Giorgio Taverniti, thank you so much. Frank's Pizza House, I wish you nothing but the best in health and happiness and safety, my friend. I hope that everything, and I'm confident it will, but it's well wishes to your end of coming out of this, strong and growing stronger as a result when this is all said and done. And I'll drop in. We'll have a cappuccino.
Absolutely.
Giorgio, thank you so much. Stay safe. Take care of your family.
You too, Jim. Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.